Wow. What was it?
Hello! This episode we're in Panama!
Panama is a surprise. It's lush, it's green, then it's got this kind of city edge. Panama City is incredible.
It's so full of contrast. There is jungles and then big high-rise cities. There is the Caribbean coast and the Pacific coast, and its biggest sport is boxing. So I think the whole social media thing has made the whole idea of image and identity even bigger. We want to try and show we're a certain person.
Oh mate, I've got that exact thing. So I've got this picture of me doing this air, but it isn't actually the reality. So when people see that, they're going to go, wow, that dude can surf. And when I put it up,
and they'll actually meet you and go, actually,
yeah, when they see me surf. But that's the perfect thing, isn't it? I'm projecting an image of me, which is not actually the whole truth. It's a better version of me.
Why is it we all have this insecurity? And why is it we all have to almost?
Because you care about what people think. And
so, mate, this trip you're going to try and get some good pictures of yourself wakeboarding and kind of prove you are a pro wakeboarder.
I'm desperate to wakeboard, get a decent air, surfing, do a decent air, something that will live up to this profile picture that I probably need to go take down.
So I set up wakeboarding to do with Rich. We got there on the actual day. There were these three guys there hanging out who kind of were like the pros, who showed us how it's done. This guy, the way he manoeuvred around this kind of dodgy looking lake and the way he made the jumps, it looked so simple, it looked so easy. We thought, actually, if he can do this, then we can do this.
If I'm going to wipe out on the jump, what's the best way to wipe out? There is no best way. I can skate, I can surf, I can snowboard, so I'm thinking this really is no problem. I was thinking I'm going to be good at this. It can't be that hard. You're holding a rope, you go over things. Easy.
There's this pressure, I guess, when you're doing something in front of a crowd, these three guys that were there, and in front of your mate, that you want to impress.
So, it turns out that wakeboarding is probably one of the most difficult things I've ever tried. An absolute disaster. It was a train wreck. And I kept going because this was my moment to impress. And I knew that I had to beat Frosty. If nothing else, I had to get high and get far and beat Frosty. It was a surprise to me that I found it so hard and so difficult. Really frustrating. Kind of humiliating in front of the crew that had gathered to watch me. So then it became kind of comparative. So how bad am I in compared to Frosty?
So having seen Rich fail time and time again, I thought, okay, it's time for Frosty to show Rich how it's done. I'm not holding back, I'm going for it. Rich took it slow and soft to begin with, but I thought, no, I'm going to nail this thing first time out. I failed the first time, and I failed the second time, and the third and fourth time, and the fifth time I failed as well. And actually, the more I tried, the more I wanted to actually land one of these jumps and succeed in landing something pretty cool. But every single time, I messed it up. But time and time again, I kept smacking myself in the water, and it began to hurt a little bit.
Thankfully, Frosty was terrible.
So I was desperate to try and beat Rich, and he hadn't landed a single one. I thought, okay, I'm going to try something on this box. So I kind of zoomed around as fast as I could towards the box.
Out of the entire wakeboarding area, he managed to hit this block.
And it hurt. As I hit that ramp and as I went under the water, I almost didn't want to come to the surface. I felt so embarrassed and so shameful that I'd hit this thing so hard. And when I came to the surface and saw the crack on the board, that my helmet was fully broken, I thought, oh man, I'm a muppet.
So that clearly made me the winner out of the losers. So ever since a little kid, it's been my dream to be a professional surfer. So my friend George Hulse happened to be in Panama, so I thought it'd be a great idea to catch up with him and actually find out what it was like to be on tour back in the 80s and 90s.
And he used to be a pro surfer, and I thought might give me a few tips on my surfing. But as it happened, when we got to the beach, it was completely flat.
We brought a whole crew with us as well, and I kind of directed everybody to the spot, so I was gutted. But like always, Andy's got a backup plan, and he suggests that we go up to these cliff jumping canyons that are just really close. So George, in 1988, I went to my first ever pro surf contest in Newquay, England, called the Hot Tuna Pro. And for the first time in my life, I saw professional surfers doing their thing. Tom Carroll, Tom Curran, Fabian Hardman, and all these crew of incredible surfers.
And I started in 1986, finished in 1990. So in 1988, I would have been in that Hot Tuna Surf Masters. I just wouldn't have finished in the top that year. So probably would have seen you.
Being a professional sports hero in the eyes of Groms, did that affect how you felt about yourself?
Yeah, it definitely did, because it's so difficult to separate what people say about you and how you feel about yourself. And when people are telling you that you're something special, it's hard to not feel that, and that you're special because you're a professional surfer. So it was very much tied to what I did. And some of that might have been positive, maybe, but then some of it could be negative. I could start to think of myself as more important than I actually am or was at that time. So I don't think there's any question that that was right in there in my identity in those years, for sure.
How did it affect you when you lost a heat or you didn't do well in a contest?
The pressure was incredible, because you had personal pressure to do well, but you also had your sponsors wanting you to do well, your family, your friends. I wanted to win so badly. I wanted the results, because the results would tell me that all my hard work, had paid off. Sometimes I didn't know where to place the blame, and you'd always try to take personal responsibility for it, but that was often difficult as well.
Did people treat you differently when you go through that winning moment and that losing moment? Did the people around you behave differently?
For sure. I can remember my highest place was a second place finish in Australia, and I'd never experienced that kind of feeling before, where everyone congratulated me, said well done. They just heaped the affirmation on me and all of that, and it really did come with feelings, that were so good that it affects you deep inside of like, this is what I've been working for, and all of that. I think there's no question about it that surfing definitely works its way into a person's identity and becomes part of who they are, and could, maybe at its worst, begin to dominate that person's identity. But maybe at its best, it just becomes part of what I do, not who I am.
Oh, it's higher than it looks. Is it okay that I don't want to go? 1, 2, 3.
Just before we came out to Panama, the Panamanian surf team came over to France, where I live, and I got to hang out with Gonks and the whole crew of professional surfers. So coming here, I wanted to meet up with him, and as soon as we met him, he was like, high energy, let's go do this, let's go do that, right, we're on.
So it's great to connect again with Gonts. I've met him over in France earlier this year, so to go and see him in his home country. It's been great to show him around France a little bit, a bit of Europe, and now it's his turn to show us around Panama.
Sweet! Yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good, and we're gonna have a nice wave.
Looking forward to it.
So there, it's from the corner from there.
Surf?
I think so, yeah.
So we had an adventure. We got to go surf in the Caribbean, to be whipped out on a boat to this little island spot in these little waves. My energy levels were so high.
How did getting out of the boat go for you? So I've seen all these surf movies where you have these guys surf these epic waves in places like Indonesia, and they get these boats out there and they do these perfect jumps into the water. And I thought I'm going to nail one of those first time. That didn't quite go according to plan. I more like belly flopped with the board into the water, made a massive cracking sound, and everyone thought I had snapped my board just getting into the water. One of those embarrassing moments when you're with a bunch of people you don't really know and you make a fool of yourself. And it's weird how people who you don't know, who you're never going to see again, but you still kind of care how they view you.
Suddenly, I felt no energy. I felt my brain just not focused. And all these guys are in the water looking at me and trying to work out why I'm there and what am I doing. And I'm just having the worst surf of my life.
So before we got in the water, Gonk said that the reef there is pretty gnarly. It's pretty sharp and there's sea urchins, so he said don't really walk on the reef. Got it. Now they say that wisdom comes with age.
This is done, this is time to get out. I thought it was going to be great, but probably best I go have a rest.
When it came to coming in, rather than getting back to the boat, Rich instead thought he'd gone on the reef. So I started laughing. This is jagged reef. It's kind of fire reef, so it really hurts, and there's sea urchins everywhere. And the funniest thing is watching Rich try and walk on this reef.
Oh, he's bleeding.
So painful, and everybody now is on the beach watching this blimmin' white ginger dude stumbling and falling all over these rocks, coming out at the wrong location, and I was cut, I was beat up, I was broken, and I was embarrassed.
I've got so many little sea urchins up my bottom being killed. Landed on here. Oh.
One of those moments, pretty much a highlight of the trip.
When you're trying to impress people and that doesn't work, and you're kind of left looking like a fool or looking just average, you kind of take a hit to your ego. And I try really hard not to let my ego control me, to try to be humble. But it's interesting that there's certain things that press the buttons, and that feeling of not measuring up was really evident inside on this trip in lots of ways. It kind of was interesting to feel that again and to try and work out how to deal with that again.
Image is very important. Most important thing is not how others view us, but how actually God views us. And that actually is a game changer in our thinking. We're heading back in towards Panama City, this mega metropolis, and Gonk has organised this great place for us to go boxing. It's one of the best boxing places in Panama City, and it's run by a guy called Roberto Duran, who is a champion boxer with a great history. And you go into the venue and it's just full of all these boxing gloves and these really cool pictures of the different guys that he's boxed over the years. A real sense of expectation entering this place.
And more than anything else, this was going to be the moment that I was going to get to knock Andy Frost out. And I waited years for that opportunity.
And we got given our trainer, who was this guy who was ripped. And suddenly you feel how much you missed the mark in terms of actually being ripped, ready for boxing. I'd never boxed before. And as I began to do this, I began to think, has Rich boxed before? Because he's had that little snigger and that little bit of, he kind of knew what he was doing. And I began to think, hang on a sec, this guy doesn't look like a beginner.
He doesn't know it, but I'd done a little bit of boxing back when I was a wee kid, and I kept quiet about that. So this is going to be the moment that hopefully I was going to take down the Goliath that is Mr. Frost. He's not quite as sharp as me, but I'm seeing the power with which he's hitting. And I'm thinking, if one of those catches me, I'm in serious trouble. So strangely, out of total confidence, I started to get a little bit nervous.
And it came to entering a boxing ring together. And there were those kind of moments where it could go very well, or something could go seriously wrong here.
I don't know what they're trying to prove image-wise.
We went to hit him hard, but every time he managed to duck out of the way, so it got really frustrating.
It's a strange thing being in a boxing ring when you've got somebody throwing punches at you.
Look at the way that Duran follows him in. That's killer instinct.
Just trying to duck and weave and keep my eyes and waiting for the moment that I could express the fine art of boxing upon his face.
I don't know how he can hope to win this fight this way. Oh, he hurt Leonard! He hurt him! He's got him going! He hurt, feels it. He's holding on. Leonard is in trouble. He thinks he's won this fight and didn't have to fight.
Through the course of this trip, we've tried to do lots of stuff as middle-aged men who are not very good at extreme stuff. Sometimes it's been really good, and sometimes it's really affected me inside. And it's been interesting to explore how you project an image to impress others. And that's been a really interesting journey for me. Because the truth is that as a Christian, my sense of self and my sense of who I am and is built in how God loves me. God has held my life together. And I think some of the stuff that I'm learning as I travel is to let go and to trust Him and to know that He loves me no matter what, whether I succeed, whether I fail, whether I box well or whether I box badly, whether I surf well or whether I surf really badly, it doesn't really change how God looks at me.
I think being in Panama, I've learned how easy it is to be defined by the world and to find our identity in the world when actually often take our image way too seriously. We need to laugh more. And I think for me, knowing that ultimately my identity is not in what others think of me, but in who God says I am, means that actually I can take my image less seriously. All I have to do is reflect something of who God is as I'm having conversations by the Caribbean or as I'm making a fool of myself wakeboarding.
If you like this video, subscribe, like it, share it.